been a while since I recorded one of these. When was the last time I posted a video? Hello everyone, welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. I'm Eugene and it's been a little while. I'm glad you're here though. I got a hot one for you. Tonight we have Temur Delver versus Dack Loam Control. On the left, we have Max G playing his Temur Delver list. Now, this isn't a Delver list at all because it doesn't run Delver, but it plays very much like a Delver deck would. It is very much based on tempo and getting advantage over turns. This has a playset of Daze, which is amazing. Obviously, a playset of Force of Will, and you're just getting your one drop in super early with the Dragon's Rage Channeler and hoping to abuse that with, say, like a Mishra's Bauble, getting those early Delirium and Surveil triggers, grow that up to a 3/3, and hopefully being able to deploy a Murktide Regent sometime in the mid-game, and everything else is just about control. You have your Lightning Bolts to deal with any problematic creatures that your opponents might be putting down. Like I said, the Dazes and the Force of Wills. The Ponders and the Brainstorms make up for it to be able to find any cards that you need, and then, you know, the only black card in the deck, and it's good enough for it, is the Orcish Bowmaster that's going to punish the opposing blue decks drawing a bunch of cards. And those orcs get out of control really fast. That orc army can turn into a 3/3/4/4 right quick. And of course, the excellent spice to this list is the Questing Druid / Seek the Beast. Being able to, at instant speed, at the end of your opponent's turn, exile the top 2 cards of your library and get to play them on your next turn is absolutely fantastic. And then the Questing Druid being the only green card in the deck. Literally anything else you play grows this creature so that you can continue to beat in. It starts as a 1/1, but it can get out of control really, really fast. Today's video is sponsored in part by Collector Legion. Check out collectorlegion.com for all your MTG needs and more. On the right, we have John C. playing this pile of cards right here, what he has called Dack Loam. I call it a pile because it's got a lot going on. So a lot of 3 ofs, 2 ofs, a couple 4 ofs for cards that the deck really, really wants to see. Basically that removal spell of the Swords to Plowshares and the... the Mox Diamond for the mana smoothing out. Everything else is kind of... It's a control pile, it's a mid-range pile, it wins through damage with creatures like Knight of the Reliquary and just big Urza Saga tokens. Does have 4 Urza Saga as well, and of course the 2 Life from the Loam to kind of make this all happen. You're putting a bunch of lands into the graveyard, you're pulling them back with Life from the Loam. You're getting advantage from all of these super cool, unique creatures that can either kill your opponent's creatures, or you can lock them out of the game from drawing extra cards, or you can even punish them with Dack Fayden to force them to try and draw 2 cards when Hull Breacher's in play, netting you 2 treasures and making them discard 2 cards. So very much a advantage engine, all these different cards. And then of course there's the Sphere of Resistance, often only seen in the lands deck. This deck is running 3 of them because once you kind of get a couple of your creatures in play that are doing these cool abilities, then you don't really need to be spending your mana. And this deck runs 27 lands, so you are always making a land drop, and theoretically you're going to have more land than your opponent. I kind of think about this deck as Death of 1,000 Cuts because it's just grabbing its advantage where it can. But obviously it can also completely end the game out of nowhere if the late game goes long enough with 4th Aerolingus, one of the best cards to come to Legacy out of the Lord of the Rings set. And yes, I am including the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters in this. This just dumps 1,000 creatures into play that all have Trample and Haste and can also help you become the Monarch at pretty much any point in the game. It is much more broken than I think any of us thought when it first was spoiled. All right, we have talked about the deck list. We know the spice. Let's get this match going. We have Max on the play here, starting with a Wastelands, presenting a destruction of John's first non-basic land. Let's see here. So no Brainstorm or anything. There's a Taiga into a Mox Diamond, pitching the Caracas into a Sphere of Resistance. I'm just looking at John's list here. It doesn't look like he's got one Forest, one Basic. A Lorien Revealed is going to find a Volcanic Island. So there is a high probability that Max did not have colored mana to start and use that Lorien Revealed to find that mana. Pitching a Brainstorm to get rid of that Sphere of Resistance. We see 2 baubles off of a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Is this thing already online? A creature, sorcery. Yes, it certainly is. So on turn 2, we see the Wasteland being used, both baubles being cracked. Dragon's Rage Channeler already delirious. That was quite quick. John putting some advantage into the field with a Sylvan Library. Getting a Tundra. So it looks like he had a little more gas in the tank. John holding a Mawlock and a Swords to Plowshares. Draws both cards, goes to 9. Taking that damage off of the Sylvan Library. Being able to draw an extra card, up to 2 extra cards for 4 damage each. A new Mox Diamond. Pitching a land into a Mawlock. 1, 2, 3. So this will kill the Dragon's Rage Channeler, but it did catch a Force of Will. Max down to 1 card, but he doesn't really care. Oh, what a whiff. 3 lands off the top for John. We're seeing Urza Saga go up, but he did have that Swords to Plowshares in hand, taking out Max's only threat. So Max with 1 land in play, 2 cards in hand. This has just gotten real tough for him. John kind of where he wants to be now. I think this is a Construct token. Max very kindly providing a Construct token here, even though he's not on the Urza Saga package. So Urza Saga is going to create 2 constructs here, and then also going to go and get a one of. I'm not entirely certain what's happening there. Okay, John's searching his deck. So this does happen on draw. You can't, it's not a May effect, like this thing goes away. You have to go and find your 0 or 1 drop. 2 mana. Loading up the construct, I think, yeah. So this construct, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's attacking for 6 with lifelink and vigilance, or not vigilance. That'd be cool. Lifelink and trample. And so Max is going to pick it up. He says, I can't, now that you gained life, I can't come back. We're just going to go to game 2. A couple of draw goes here. Draw land go. A little bit surprising for the beginning of the game. We see John pitching all sorts of lands. We see a choke come into play. That's a fun sideboard card. Looks like it's not quite the same as what I got here, but basically choke says islands can't untap. Ooh, we're seeing a Seek the Beast from... Oops. We're seeing a Seek the Beast from Max, which is going to reveal 2 lightning bolts, and then we're just going to daze. Kind of using the mana as efficiently as possible there. So Max has to use or lose these lightning bolts this turn. Goes for a Ponder instead of just firing off a lightning bolt. It's got a lightning bolt in hand too, so that's going to be 3 lightning bolts down out of the deck. Half his lightning bolts gone. But I guess that's not super relevant. I mean, John does have a couple small creatures, but a lot of stuff, like even this Neither Reliquary that just tried to come into play here is going to be way too big for a lightning bolt to take care of. So Max really dependent on his counter spells here. The Daze doing a ton of work. This one Volcanic Island doing a ton of work as well. But this is how the Delver decks, the Tempo decks, like to operate. They basically have 1 or 2 lands in play, making a bunch of plays in alternative casting costs. 2 mana gets a Murktide Regent. And he's going to be a big boy. 4 counters, so that's a 7/7, almost as good as you can get for 2 mana. A Construct is going to be a 2/2 here. This is the end of Max's turn. They're clearing up something, not entirely certain. John taking his turn, draws the card. So this Urza Saga token, or Urza Saga card, is going to tick up. Trying to decide if he's going to use the mana for it or not. Going real deep into the tank for that one. I didn't see John's hand, but clearly 3 mana this turn must matter quite a bit. Taps 2. So he is going to make the second construct, which is going to grow his board state. Trying to be able to deal with this Murktide region. I don't know what John is going to have here. I mean, it looks like his 0 or 1 drops are Shadow Spear and Thran Foundry, which is a fun and spicy addition. One of the older cards, Urza's Destiny, getting rid of a graveyard, not by exiling it, but by shuffling it back in, which can mess up things like Ponders and Brainstorms, which is pretty fun. Taking 7, a Meltdown is going to be enormous. Oh my god. Yeah, that's going to be the end of the game. So Meltdown for 1 is going to destroy both of those constructs and the Shadow Spear and the Mox Diamond, which basically took John completely out of the game. So we are off to game 3 here. Looking very similar to game 2 start. Both players just kind of putting a couple lands into play. John at the minor advantage here, since Urza Saga is going to be able to do stuff without casting. More than likely, Max is holding on to a ton of permission in his hand, since his sideboard is also Force of Negations and Pyroblasts and Hydroblasts. So we see a Brainstorm there. What else has he got? A Mox, or a Mishra's Bauble, a land that looks like maybe a Murktide Regent. Did a Seek the Beast, passing on that Force of Will. I believe that was a pass back to John. John deploying another Urza Saga and passing the turn. We see a Brainstorm. There's a Force of Negation. Is that a Fatal Push? No, that's a Dragon's Rage Chandler, which he's probably going to keep, I would guess, wanting to get one of those Dragon's Rage Chandler into play. Polluted Delta. Pulling up green so that he can play this Questing Druid. Start to get a ton of advantage off of this creature. Yeah, I think that's the right play here. Because, I mean, worst case scenario, John has a Swords to Plowshares right now. And then he can still make an Urza Saga token. Yeah, so this is in play. All right, here's my Dragon's Rage Chandler. Here's my Mishra's Bauble. So we're going to get a Surveil trigger off of the Mishra's Bauble. Look at your card. And then just 1,000 Brainstorms, Force of Wills. And that looked like a Daze. Yeah, Max's hand is pretty juiced. So I think he has to get through 3 different permission spells with those 5 cards in order to resolve anything. So John being on the not casting spells plan is a really good one. Now, the thing about Mox Diamond is I think it's an enter the battlefield effect. Yeah, so if this was an additional cost to playing a Mox Diamond of discarding a land, then I think that would be a prime counter target. But because it has to enter the battlefield before you discard that land, I don't think it's as good. It looks like we're getting a Mox Diamond off of the Urza Saga. So John definitely wants more land. Discarding a Wasteland. Playing another Mox Diamond and discarding a Plateau. Is he going to go for a removal spell here? Also, do we have Delirium? Land, instant, creature, artifact. Yes, we do. Max sequencing his plays in such a way that he's just gaining the best advantage that he can. We have 3 constructs in play. They're actually pretty big boys. So what? This is a 5/5? So if John can dodge the Meltdown, then yeah, we get the counter off of the Brainstorm here. If John can dodge the Meltdown, he's crashing in for 15 here. Unfortunately, I think that is a Meltdown right there, which is just going to annihilate John. So, yeah, the Meltdown, even for 0, because all of those things had converted mana cost 0, is going to get a 5 for 1, which really hurts a lot. And now Max has 7 power in play. We're seeing another Seek the Beast, which is going to grow his current questing Druid. Exiling 2 cards. I think John is asking, oh, is this a red card or a green card? And it's like, well, when you cast it, it's red. Seeing a Dismember and an Urza, or a Mishra's Bauble, which is fantastic. Cast that Mishra's Bauble for free. Binning useless land off the top. Checking out John's card. Max officially in charge of this game at this point. Getting rid of another questing Druid. At this point, I think maybe Max just goes, I'll just take all the permission that I can get in my hand. Because, I mean, with John basically out of gas on the field, he can get 1 construct and 1 artifact, but that just presents a 2/2 that can chump block for 1 turn for the 6/6. And he's still crashing in the air for 3. I mean, yeah. The Mox Diamond really hurt too. And not being able to find a life from the Loam. So it looks like he is just going to do some mana. Probably going to play that Knight of the Reliquary in his hand. Looked like he had a Hull Breacher too, which would be a cool card to resolve, get some tokens. So there's that Thran Foundry I was talking about earlier. Now, why John would play a Thran Foundry versus something like a Soul Guide Lantern, it's probably to stop things from being able to cast from exile. Something like a Karn, Great Creator, is able to pull stuff from exile. So say somebody exiles their graveyard, then you can actually pull that from your exile pile, not just from your sideboard. But it's a pretty fringe situation. Usually, I kind of like the ability to pay 0 mana and just exile the yard. There's only a couple decks running Karn Great Creator. But this is going to stop that Murktide Regent that is in Max's hand. He did have a Force of Will for it, so... Oh, but it came into play, so... It kind of did have to happen that way. And with John doing that, the Dragon's Rage Chandler is now 1/1 again. Still do have to worry about this 6/6. And we can cast this Questing Druid at any time. We're going to cast it right now. And then probably a Ponder. Yeah. That's a little confusing. I'm sure Max will add another die to this. Yeah, there we go. It's a 7/7. Went ahead and shuffled with that Ponder, doing another Ponder. Max barely cares about any of these actual cards that he's drawing. He just wants to cast as many cantrips into his Questing Druids as possible to continue to grow them. And a Wasteland is going to basically take John out of this game. I mean, cracking for, 10 damage, and that's going to be it. That's the game. I think that game was a really good example of how good tempo can be once it starts to pull ahead with all of the permission and making sure that you just have your threat in play, being able to turn it sideways and make sure your opponent can't do anything else. So good job, Max, on the 2-1. If you are watching this video and you're still watching, thanks for sticking around. It has been a crazy month or so, and I'm hoping to get these videos up more often. If you are watching this the day that it drops, we do have a stream tonight, Tuesday Night Legacy. It's going to be Jack and Alan in the booth. It's going to be a great time, so I hope to see you live at 7:30 p.m. PST. Thanks, as always, to Spellhold Games and Collector Legion for allowing us to record in their play space. We wouldn't exist without you, so thanks for keeping us around. And if you're looking for either of these deck lists, they are always in the description of this video, right below where you are probably watching it. Well, that's all I've got for this one. So until next time, I've been Eugene, and this is Tuesday Night Legacy.